It's not often that territories are kicked out of countries. Most nations will go to great lengths to make sure they keep hold of as much land and people as possible. Yet, in 1965, this very thing happened to Singapore when it was ejected from Malaysia. The obvious question is, why was Singapore, such a geographically important region, kicked out of Malaysia? After the Second World War, Southeast Asia was in flux, and its imperial powers struggled to reassert their authority. This was because the Japanese had made sure to place these areas under the control of the native people during the war. When the Europeans returned, they wanted everything to go back to normal. But fun fact, no. By 1948, Britain's Southeast Asian colonies were the Federation of Malaya, Singapore, Sarawak, Brunei, and North Borneo. Despite Britain's best efforts, by September 1963, all of these colonies, barring Brunei, were independent. All of these newly independent states opted to join the brand new Malaysia in the same year. For some, it was fear of a communist takeover that pushed them into the Union. For Singapore, it was about gaining access to larger markets to increase its wealth. Yet a mere 2 years after joining Malaysia, Singapore was out. But why? Well, the reason was primarily political and racial. Malaysian politics at this time was dominated by the MSC, a right-wing coalition, led by Tunku Abdul Rahman, representing the largest ethnic Malay groups. Singaporean politics was monopolized by the People's Action Party, PAC, a more centrist, multi-ethnic party headed by Lee Kuan Yew. Both sides rushed into the Union because of the fear of communism and immediately ran into major issues. The first was that Malaysia operated on a system called Malay supremacy, which discriminated against those who weren't ethnically Malay. The second was that the central government in Kuala Lumpur was sure to clamp down on any idea of Singapore maintaining real autonomy. As such, the PAC, despite promising not to, opted to run in the 1964 federal election against the MSC. The PAC was crushed, but the fact that it ran on a platform of ending racial discrimination worried the MSC. The reason being that about 30 to 35% of Malaysia's population was ethnically Chinese. This voting bloc could potentially have kept the MSC out of power. The only reason most Chinese Malaysians voted for the MSC was the threat that any attempt to rewrite the system would lead to the government joining Indonesia to keep the Chinese out of power forever. As such, Rahman came up with a brilliant idea: let's just kick Singapore out. Tensions continued to rise and culminated in a series of race riots in Singapore, whose population was overwhelmingly Chinese. Most Singaporean leaders wished to remain a part of Malaysia but wanted a much looser agreement. The Malaysian government said no, and so Goh Keng Swee pushed for Singapore to leave Malaysia altogether. Rahman went to the Malaysian parliament and pushed for a vote on simply expelling Singapore, which he won unanimously. On August 9, 1965, the Singaporean representatives reluctantly declared independence, and thereafter, Singapore became an incredibly wealthy nation. So, it sort of worked out in the end.